Hey, for those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Miss Isa. I'm a second grade math teacher in the state of Tennessee. Here I'm going to be teaching or reviewing over Chapter 6 in the GoMath curriculum. Looking at question 1, it says Mr. Kent had 948 craft sticks. His art class used 356 craft sticks. How many craft sticks does Mr. Kent have now? Okay, so he started out with 948 craft sticks. So I'm going to write 948. His class ended up using 356 of those sticks. So we must subtract here. All right, and I want to make sure that each of my place values are lined up so that my numbers aren't in the wrong place, meaning I could possibly get the wrong answer. So if my work is laid out neatly, I will have a higher chance to get the correct answer, which is great. All right, so we always solve in the ones place. So 8 minus 6 is 2. Now looking in the tens place, 4 minus 5. Well, it looks like we have a problem there. We can't have 4 on the top because it's bigger than 5. We must have a bigger number on the top, which means that 4 needs to go over to the neighbor. We need to go next door and take 10 more. So that 9 becomes an 8. And 4 gets 10 more. It becomes 14, just like we talked in our last chapter. So 14 minus 5 in the tens place is 9. And 8 minus 3 in the hundreds place is 5. So our answer is 592 craft sticks is how many sticks that Mr. Kent has now. Now looking on down to question 2. At the library, there are 668 books and magazines. I'm circling that number. There are 565 books at the library. How many magazines are there? All right. So we have to circle the number that makes the sentence true. There are blank magazines. Okay, so at the library there are 668 books and magazines. All right, so this means books and magazines. I'm putting B and M. There are 565 books. But what we need to find are the number of magazines. So notice how I added up here, which means that on our actual sign that we're working with is a subtraction sign. So we need to subtract in this problem to get our answer. All right, because we know that the number of books is also in 668. Along with the number of magazines. But they gave us 565 as the amount of books. So I'm just going to solve this problem to find my answer for the number of magazines. Solving in the ones place, 8 minus 5 is 3. I can do that. 6 minus 6 in the tens place is 0. And 6 minus 5 in the hundreds place is 1. All right, so now I'm just going to circle the correct answer, 103. Looking at question 3, there are 176 girls and 241 boys at school. How many children are at school? All right, so if we look, they gave us our numbers right to the left side, and they just broke those numbers up into their place values. 100 plus 70 plus 6, and then 200 plus 40 plus 1. So I'm going to solve that right side. 6 plus 1, 7. All right. In the tens place, what I do, when I see 2 zeros, 0 plus 0, that's just 0. Now, 7 plus 4 is 11. The issue here with 11 is we have 100 in that. So that 100 needs to be brought over. So that I don't confuse myself, I'm going to erase that 100 because I carried it over to the hundreds. Now I'm going to say, looking in this ones, 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. In the tens, 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. And then finally in the hundreds in that, 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 400. Right, so we have 7 in the ones. So I'm going to say I have 7 ones. I have 10 in the tens. So I have 1 tens, because that's 10. 1 tens. And then in the hundreds, I have 400. And that's how you do number 3. Question 4 says, Anna wants to add 246 and 132. Help Anna solve this problem. Draw quick pictures. Write how many hundreds, tens, and ones in all. Write the number. All right, so in my drawing, first I'm going to do 246. So that's 6 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. 4 tens. And 2 hundreds for 246. Then I'm going to do 132 below that. So that's 2 ones, 3 tens, and 1 hundreds. I'm pulling those numbers from the top up here. Now, we're just going to add those together. So all I would do is count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tens. And 1, 2, 3 hundreds. So my number is 378. Number 5 says Mrs. Preston had 513 leaves. She gave 274 leaves to her students. How many leaves does she still have? Draw to show how you found your answer. Okay, so the best thing to do here would be I would write 513, and I'm spacing it out a good amount so I have enough room to work with. And 274, again, spaced out. This is so my place values are nice and neat. Then I'm going to subtract, because we know that 274 of those leaves went to her students. Then I'm just going to solve this. I'm bringing my line a little bit down. I'm working a little outside of the box, which is a-okay. Looking in the ones place, 3 minus 4, we can't do that. So we need to go over to our tens place, which becomes a 0. That 1 becomes a 0. But the 3 now becomes a 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. Now, in the tens place, 0 minus 7, we can't do that at all. We can't have a bigger number on the floor. So we have to go next door and take 10 more. So 5 becomes a 4. And that 0 becomes a 10 now, because it gained a whole 10. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. So your answer is going to be 239. Another thing that you could have done here was have drawn 500. Then I would divide this into my hundreds, tens, and ones. So I would take that 500, 110, 3 ones, and 513. Now you would take 274 out of that. So I cannot take 4 leaves. We're looking at the ones place, and I can't take 4 out of that. So what I would have to do is go over to the 10 and take from him. And I get 10 ones when I do that. So now I would subtract 4 out of this. So in the ones place right now, I'm done. So now I move to the tens place. I have a 7 in the tens place and 274. I can't take that out of what I have in my drawing. So what I have to do is go to my hundreds and take one of those. And now a 10 comes over to my tens place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to take 7 out of that. And you can count that out. All right, now I'm done in my tens place. And now I just have to solve for my hundreds. I have 200 that I need to take out of the 500s I have. So 1, 2. This 100 was also taken out, so we cannot forget that. I noticed that down here I did draw circles. You could draw sticks. Circles are a little bit easier for me to see sometimes, so I did draw circles out of habit. But the sticks would be appropriate since it is in the tens place. So now I would just say how many I have left in each place value. So in my ones, I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 ones. I have 1, 2, 3 tens. And 1, 2 hundreds. And as you can see, this answer, I didn't do a great job at circling that. This answer matches this answer right here. So those are just 2 ways that you could show a drawing of how you found your answer. But in this, you will only have to show 1 way. I'm just giving 2 possible solutions that you could give. Looking at number 6, a farmer has 112 pecan trees and 97 walnut trees. How many more pecan trees does a farmer have than walnut trees? So how many more usually suggests subtraction? It's just that wording. So it says, fill in the bubble next to all the sentences that describe what you would do. Well, first, I would solve this. So 112 minus, I'm going to actually write this out a little bigger so you can see what goes on in this problem. All right. So I'm just going to give myself some lines for place value. And I'm going to change pen color as I work through the problem. I'm going to keep it blue unless I regroup, so you can see what happens in this problem. So looking in the ones place, 2 minus 7. We can't have 7 on the floor, so we have to go next door and take 10. So this 2 now becomes a 12. So if we solve in the ones, 12 minus 7 is 5. Now, moving to the tens. 0 minus 9. 9 is much bigger than 0. So we have to go next door and take 10 and bring it into the tens. 10 minus 9 we can solve, which is 1. And then in the hundreds, 0 minus nothing is just 0, so I'm just going to leave that blank. All right. So now we have to look at our options. The first one says, I would regroup the hundreds. Well, yes, we did regroup in the hundreds. So I'm going to say, yes, that did happen. I would add 12 plus 97. Well, I did not do that, so I'm going to leave that one blank. I would subtract 7 ones from 12 ones. So if we look right here, we subtracted 7 ones from 12 ones after we regrouped. So that's true. And then now it says I would regroup the tens. And we did that as well. If you look in the tens place, you could see with the red marking, we did regroup in the tens. So that would be an answer choice as well. All right, number 7 says Amy has 408 beads. She gives 322 beads to her sister. How many beads does Amy have now? Before I go any further, I'm just going to solve this. It's out to the side, so 408 minus 322 beads. I'm just going to solve that like normal. Starting in the ones place, 8 minus 2 is 6. 0 minus 2, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to regroup. I didn't mean to slash, well, I did mean to actually slash that. All right, so once I regroup, my answer should be 86 beads, but I'm not finished. I need to look through each of these. So it says, does the sentence describe how to find the answer? Choose yes or no. So the first one right here says regroup 110 as 18 ones. If I look, I'm going to do it in green. If I look at this 8 right here, it did not become 18 ones when I regrouped. So I'm going to say no to that one right there. Regroup 110 as 18 ones, and that did not happen. The second one says regroup 100 as 10 tens, and as we can see, that happened here. We took from that hundreds to make that happen. And then the last one, it says subtract 2 tens from 10 tens. And yes, and I'm going to show you in green where I see that. I took 2 tens from 10 tens, which is why I'm saying yes there. Number 8 says, Rawl used this method to find the sum 427 plus 316. If we look right here, we can see that first at 700, he solved 400 plus 300. Then for this one, he solved 2 tens plus 1 10. And then that last one, he just solved his 7 plus 6, which is 13. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to focus on our hundreds first. 200 plus 300 is 500. I'm going to erase that so we don't get confused. Then I'm going to move to the tens. 2 tens plus 1 10 is 3 tens, which is 30. And then I'm going to erase again, go to the ones. 9 ones plus 3 ones is 12. We're just using his method. to solve this. I'm just going to add these together. And once you add these together, you should get 542. So it says, describe how raw solves addition problems. I'm going to say that raw breaks apart each number into hundreds, tens, and ones. I'm just giving an explanation there as to how I solved this, right in that red. And that is number 8. Number 9 says, Sally scores 381 points in a game. I'm going to circle 381. Ty scores 262 points. How many more points does Sally score than Ty? So again, here we're just going to subtract. So we start with that bigger number, 381 minus 262. I'm just working this out to the side. Once I solve this problem and I regroup like I need to, I'm solving in the ones. So now 11 minus 2 is 9. I can do 7 minus 6, which is 1. Then 3 minus 2 is 1, so my answer is 119. Number 10 says, use the numbers on the tiles to solve the problem. So looking carefully here, the only numbers I'm going to use is the numbers on the tiles. So 0, 3, and 6. And I'm just going to plug these in. Alright, so I always solve in the ones column. And if I look carefully, I regrouped a 10 and I have 3 ones. So technically, I'm saying, I'm going to write this out to the side. 7 plus blank equals 13. So looking in the ones, I need to plug in the number that would go there. We know that this would be a 6, so I'm going to put a 6 in the ones. Now, if we apply the same concept in the tens, I would say we have this 1 on top. 1 plus 5 plus 4 is 10, so I'm going to have to put a 0 there. And they carried a 1 into the hundreds. And then in the hundreds, 1 plus 2 plus blank equals 6. So 1 plus 2 plus blank equals 6. Well, I know that this is 3. 3 plus what equals 6? I'm going to say 3 plus 3. So a 3 is going to have to go there. That's just the same thing as saying 3 plus 3. So on the bottom, it says, describe how you solved the problem. So I would say, first, I looked in my ones. I'm spelling ones wrong by accident. I looked in my ones and knew the unknown number was 6 because, and I'm going to just say the explanation that I used, 7 plus 6 equals 13. Then I regrouped the ones to find the unknown number. I'm just going to move down. Number in the tens column. And you can pause this if I'm going too fast. So I'm just saying, then I regroup the ones to find the unknown number in the tens column. So now I'm talking about the tens column. After talking about to the tens column, I'm going to say, lastly, or last, I regrouped the tens to add the hundreds. So any way that you could thoroughly explain this would be great. This is just one way to explain it, of course. You can also incorporate how we talked about some of these equations up above, just in any way that you can describe how you solved the problem. That's the end for this review. Thank you for watching, and I hope you do well on the test.